All right. Hello, everyone, and welcome to this week's Unity Hour. We are really excited for this week's topic. We're going to be digging into all things resume. So I know we've been doing Unity Hours for almost a month now. We're hitting our 1 month point, and we've seen just over the course of the past few weeks, resume questions seem to be the thing that keeps surfacing itself over and over again. So we're like, let's address it. It also comes at a very important time for us. This week, we at the Mom Project launched a new product called Resume Rev, which basically is a new tool that we designed to help you own your story. So we'll get into that a little bit before we kick things off, but just wanted to quickly welcome our guests for today. Today we have career coach and resume expert, Ashley Cash. Ashley, welcome. Thank you so much for joining us. We're excited to have her on hand here to kind of share her years of wisdom and insight and resume expertise. But yeah, just to give you a rundown of how things are going to go today, basically, we're going to kick off, show you guys Resume Rev and how you can kind of unleash the power of that tool on your end. And then Ashley's going to take us through a real-time resume review. This is going to be really valuable this time that Ashley's going to spend just really kind of showing you what you should be doing as you're building your resume, whether it's in Resume Rev or on your own. And then the last half of the session is going to be questions that you guys submitted. So thank you all for all like 1,500 plus of you that I think are here for submitting all of your incredible resume questions. We've got your back, and we want to provide you with as much insight and clarity today as we possibly can. So if you're new to Unity Hour, feel free to leverage the live chat on the page. We are monitoring it in real time, and we'll try to pull in as many questions from you all as we can and get those answered today as well. Awesome. So to kick things off, I just wanted to show you guys the beauty and power of Resume Rev. So I'm going to share my screen really quick. And this is a resume built in Resume Rev. So basically what we did is we really kind of took as much insight and feedback as we could from our community to hear kind of what your top resume concerns were, and wanted to give you guys a solution that enables you to build a resume through your profile with the Mom Project. So this is an example of the Resume Rev resume. It's streamlined, it's beautifully designed. We worked hard with our UX design and engineering teams to make sure the layout was something that could be quickly scanned by a recruiter or whoever might be looking at a resume, so that the most pertinent information really pops out. It's not too busy. There's not like too much going on. It really lets you shine. And one thing, you can see here, this is an example, but a career pause is something that we know a lot of our community really sort of struggles with when they have to put it into a resume. So we've, as part of this tool, the Mom Project Pause is something that you can add to your resume directly from the tool, so you can really own that pause and embrace the power that is in that pause. So this is kind of an output of what you would get in Resume Rev, and I just want to show you all. So basically, to access Resume Rev, you would log into your profile with the Mom Project. If here's the marketplace page. Your profile is the second tab. You would want to complete it to 100%. And once you get to 100%, so you have to go through a lot of different pieces here. The one thing that's nice is we have augmented this process a bit to allow you to unlock some of these newer features of Resume Rev. So Resume Headline is something that's new. You'll see here under work experience where you can either add a position or you can add a career pause, which is that awesome Mom Project pause that we talked about. When you add a position, you'll see here we've got bulleted list added in, which will help with the formatting of your experiences under any specific role. We also added in writing tips to help you kind of guide you along the way. And then, all these other factors, not all of them will be reflected on your resume, but, the things that we're known for, the flex factors and things that you can kind of advocate for yourself when you're looking for a role and matching with positions. Your education, you could add certifications, and make it perfect is going to be kind of your professional pitch, which we'll get into today. But once you have all of these elements loaded into your profile and you've completed it to 100%, you can download your profile as a PDF. So right from there in your profile, you can kind of get a view of what your resume would look like. You click download and you are instantly provided with a PDF resume. So it's very simple. You don't have to do double the work. You know, the work you're putting in here on your Mom Project profile, you know, delivers you obviously great job matches through us, but also you can take this PDF resume and use it to apply for jobs with the Mom Project or anywhere else. It's yours to use. If you want to use it, add it to your LinkedIn. If you want to email it out to people you're you know, networking with, or add it to any other ATS, we're here for you. So this is Resume Rev. We couldn't be more excited. Get in there, get into your profile, and spend some time with it. And yeah, it's just a major, major launch for us.
Thanks, Katie. I'm Colleen. I'm monitoring the YouTube chat. So thanks for all the questions. Hopefully Ashley's going to get to some of these, but for those that are very specific to the Resume Rev tool, definitely email us at community@themomproject. We're happy to help answer any questions, take any product feedback. We'll be continually evolving this tool and making it better for all of you. So I'll continue to answer questions in here, but I know it's a new tool, so we're all getting comfortable with it, and just want to let you know that our hotline is open. So email us. We'll get back to you.
Thanks, Colleen. Yes, community@themomproject.com. We're checking it 24/7, so please send feedback, thoughts, questions. We'll get back to you as quickly as we can. And then there's one other piece before we kick off the live resume review. Starting on Monday, this coming Monday, April 20th, we are going to be launching the 5-day resume challenge, which basically is something we've created. It's 5 days of content that will really help you guys kind of think about your story, think about the experiences you should be putting into your resume, your skills, you know, whatever it may be. Think about how to address your specific situation, whether you're returning to work or looking to make a career pivot. And then using all of those things that you do over the course of the 5 days, you'll input it into Resume Rev. And by Friday of next week, you'll have a really next level resume. So we will throw the sign up link for the 5-day resume challenge into the live chat here, but we'll also email it out to everybody afterwards. But you know, you can do it with us in real time next week. You can self-pace, but overall, we've really kind of broken the resume building process into a bite-sized kind of like 5-day series that I think we think will be really beneficial for everyone. So stay tuned for that. We'll throw the link in the chat. And yeah, so lots of resume stuff coming from us this week. So that being said, I'm excited to move on to like the main show here, Ashley and the real-time resume review. So Ashley, thank you again for being here and, you know, donating your time to kind of share your expertise with our whole community. It means the world to us. Oh no. Did we lose her? We might have. Hold on.
Did we lose her already? There she is.
Here I am. It looks like my Zoom meeting, it just restarted. Gotta love technology.
Okay.
So luckily you guys can still hear me. I don't know if you can you see me at all?
No, we can just hear you.
Okay. Looks like Zoom is restarting.
Okay.
So give me just, I guess, hopefully 1 second. I'm going to go back and try to maybe re-enter the meeting. It's so funny, Katie, the whole time you were talking about Resume Rev, I'm just like, oh my gosh, this is awesome. And then, of course, the moment you say, okay, we're going to kick it over to Ashley, womp womp. So I'm going to give this always, right? So we'll just give it just another second for me to jump back into the Zoom meeting. I don't want to touch anything because I don't want to lose audio.
Yeah.
But while Zoom is being kind to me and reloading, What I do want to say is just a big thank you to the Mom Project, and to you, Katie and Colleen, for having me today during, this crazy time that we've all found ourselves in. One of the things that was really important to me was to have the opportunity to serve. I thought that was probably the most important thing, as I know a lot of us are facing, a lot of uncertainty, situations we've never been in before, working from home with children, all sorts of things. And so for me, I think that the one thing that I could do was really use my gifts to help other women either, blaze forward towards a new path, or even in this season, sort of take the opportunity to pivot into something else. So I just want to say a big thank you there. And the other thing that I want to do, if it's okay with you guys, again, while technology has some mercy on me, is if you are watching this live, I really love to start all my sessions high energy. So let's get the vibe up. I want you to type in the chat for me one thing in the last month that has made you smile, or bonus points, something that's made you just laugh out loud, big belly laugh. Type that up. Let's get our energy and our vibe up while we do that.
Love it.
Hey guys, I'm still here. So why don't we try this? I'm gonna log into the meeting from my phone, and then Katie, if you will, I think you still have the link to the deck.
Sure do.
So why don't you run the deck for me, and then at a minimum, we can get this party started, right?
Perfect. Pulling
Awesome.
up.
Sounds great. I wish you guys could see the chat with all of the answers to your prompt, Ashley.
Awesome. Read some of them.
Yeah. I'm gonna live do some. Shauna's friends did a live Price is Right from Instagram Live yesterday. Bad quarantine haircuts, virtual book club meetings, video calls with friends, dance parties, carbs. Call out to the carbs. Our real MVP of the quarantine. Watching my husband cut his hair, passing the bar exam, got into grad school. Let's see. They're moving so fast. Oh, TikTok. Big winner of quarantine. TikTok. No question about that. Being able to restart exercise classes via Zoom.
Love it.
Many mentions about the haircuts. I think we're flowing into week 5 and people are really feeling the lack of our hairstylists. It is something I feel intimately as well.
I love that.
And I'm trying not to do anything drastic while home untamed. So
all
right, now we see you, Ashley. We got you now.
Awesome. All right, so I logged in from my phone again, just so that we maximize the time. But I just want to say thank you for everyone who commented, and I'm feeling good even with technology not working in my favor right now. My husband is running to go grab his computer, so we'll at least be able to have some visuals there. I think what I'm going to do is probably restart my computer, but since Katie's got the deck, I'm going to restart my computer. I'm going to get going. I'm going to restart my computer, and then hopefully everything will be back on track. So all is not lost. We are going to get some ways to elevate your resume today. So computer's restarting. Husband just popped down with.
I have the deck up right now.
Okay, perfect. All right. So Katie, once again, let's go ahead and go to next slide. All right. So again, my name is Ashley Cash, and I am a six-figure resume writer, interview and salary negotiation expert. And you're wondering, how does one become all of those things? I started my business and started working with women after a 13-year, what I call explosive career, working for some big brands that you all know and love, like Coca-Cola, Whirlpool, and Globe Life. And from that time, or from those experiences, I got the opportunity to do a lot of hiring, firing, and managing teams. And what that led to was me really getting the inside scoop on how hiring and salary decisions get made, particularly for women. And so as you can imagine, that meant that I got a lot of experience looking at resumes and really as a hiring manager, understanding what on a resume is going to make me pick up the phone and say, not only I hope that this person will join our team, but also I hope that we can afford this person. And so after an explosive career, I decided to take that talent and also take my desire to serve women and help us ask for and confidently earn with what we're worth. And so then I started creating coaching and courses basically to help women, to teach women how to get hired and get paid. And the reason why I decided to focus on women is because, as we all know, as women, the nuances for us in the workplace are sometimes very different than our male counterparts. And every time you layer sort of what I call a hat on top of that, be that being a minority, being a mom, a caregiver, the list goes on and on. I think those complexities expand a bit. And so my work is really all about helping women get hired and get paid. Awesome. So I want to talk a little bit about, just so you know that you're in the right place and you're talking to the right person, who I've helped. And so as I mentioned, I work with smart, driven professional women who I imagine are all on this call right now, who want to like what they do and earn what they're worth. So typically the women that I serve are mid to senior level professional women. They are high earners and high achievers, and they represent a broad scope of industries. So women all the way from HR practitioners to data scientists. I have clients who work in government and nonprofit and education, you name it. And so that said, that's enough, I think, about me. And let's talk a little bit about what we're going to be talking about today. And you guys, I appreciate your grace, because I'm talking to you, navigating these slides, and also on the other side here, trying to get dialed back in to the meeting so that I can actually share not just the slides that Katie, she's writing for me right now, but also the actual resume that I want to show you guys. That's the meat of it. So let's talk a little bit about what we're going to talk about today. And there's really four major components of what I consider to be a resume that gets results. So regardless of what your salary target is, there are primarily four components of a resume that's going to get you results. And that's what we're going to focus on today. So the first one is clean formatting. And if you're using Resume Rev, some of that's already done for you, so that's a win there. But if you are making the decision to, continue with a resume that you have either created or are updating yourself, then clean formatting is a big component of that. And I'll talk a little bit more about that here in a sec. And then I'll actually show you what I mean by clean formatting. The second component, and this is a big one, I think this is probably one of the reasons or one of the big motivators that the Mom Project decided to create Resume Rev, is because it's always so hard to know what to actually say on a resume. And then sometimes you might find yourself thinking like, I'm not a writer, and knowing what to say and how to say it and really being able to use that, kind of fluffy resume language sometimes can be a struggle. Well, I have great news for you. When I write resumes, I don't use resume language. And what I mean by resume language is that fluffy, results-oriented, proven track record type language that when you really get to the heart of it, doesn't necessarily mean a lot. And so I'm going to show you some alternatives for resume language while I get logged in on another screen. Okay. The third thing, and I also think this is super important, is you need to have a compelling professional summary. And in the example that Katie showed you guys just a few minutes ago on Resume Rev, I think she called that your resume. Katie, what was it? Was it your summary? What did you call it again?
Headline. Yep, resume headline.
Your headline. So really calling the same thing something different, but that's compelling. And the reason why that is because you want to let the reader know right off the bat that they have the right person and they need to keep reading. And then the last and final thing is the way that you approach describing your experience. And so you want to make sure that that is always relevant and that it is results focused. So let's get going. We're going to go to the next slide. And y'all, I think I'm almost back in. So the other thing, okay, you can actually go back one. You can go back one. The other thing is, and Katie already mentioned this, is that I am going to show you. So, you know, many times we've probably been to, you know, webinars or classes like this that talk about resumes. Well, here's the thing. A resume is one of those things that you really have to see, right? You want to see, feel, touch live. And so that's what I'm going to be doing for you today is actually showing you what you need to do. So I am like 1 second away, guys, from being back in the meeting, and then we're going to get the party started. So bear with me like 1 more second, and then we're going to get going.
Perfect.
Awesome. You guys, thank you so much for just bearing with me and giving me grace through the tech difficulties. Katie and I did a tech check yesterday, jumped on early today, and of course, wouldn't you know it, Zoom restarted. So that said, I'm in.
You ready? Okay, great. I'll stop my share and you can kind of take over again so you can toggle back.
Okay. Look, I'm back. Okay.
There she is.
There I am. So I'm going to stop video on my phone. And again, just thank you guys a ton for just being super gracious. I got that figured out.
A little real talk while we were doing that and I was on mute. My 3-year-old just came barely.
Yeah, we've had kids, we've got
like
technical problems. This is like a work from home with kids, like SNL skit. I'll get my dog over here. She'll start barking soon. No, everyone's super excited. Lots of grace. Thank you, Ashley, for navigating all that.
Absolutely.
No problem at all. I mean, right? It really is. You got working mom, working from home realness happening here. So the heart of what we're doing, though, is obviously here to help. And so I think fingers and toes crossed that we've gotten through that. So alas, I have my screen up. Hopefully you guys are seeing the deck. Let's get right in. This is the stuff that I love. Total resume nerd here. So here is one of the first things. This is almost kind of a bonus tip. So if you really learn nothing from our time together today, these are the only rules. So when you say it twice, you know it's real, that you need to remember when you are creating a resume. And again, I'm going to illustrate this, but the first rule is you must remember that your resume needs to be searchable. And what I mean by searchable is more than likely, the majority of us, when we apply for a job, we're going to submit our resume through an online portal, also known as an applicant tracking system. And what's going to happen is the first entity that's going to see that resume is actually a computer. And so what that computer is looking for are basically the candidates who are best matches. So that's going to include keywords and phrases from your industry so that that applicant tracking system can pull out or say, hey, yeah, Ashley needs to go into the yes pile. Katie needs to go into the yes pile. Colleen needs to go into the yes pile. If you don't have those applicable keywords and phrases, and also let me be clear about keywords. It can't just be like I wrote marketing on my resume 100 times. The ATS is also looking for context. So it's super important, rule number 1, that your resume is searchable. The second thing, and I think this is something that a lot of people make the mistake of not doing, is that your resume really needs to be specific to the job for which you are applying. Now, I told you guys a couple slides ago that I work with, high achievers, women who are very, very accomplished in their field, who have, 10 plus years of experience. And so what happens sometimes is two things. Either one, there's so much amazing experience that we feel like we want to throw it all on there. And when we do that, what happens is the key or star attributes that as it relates to the job sometimes get watered down or they get lost. The second thing that sometimes happens, though, is that we don't always see the significance in the simple, right? Things that we do every day. If we've been in marketing for 15 years and, we could create a digital campaign in our sleep. For us, it's simple. And so we don't always see the significance in that. And so we don't always tell those stories and bring those to life on a resume. So the second important thing that you must remember is that your resume must be specific to the job for which you are applying. And the way I like to think of that is for the job, what you want to focus on are the things that are specific for that job, and anything else you just want to mention. Anything that's sort of relevant, but not, or a nice to know or a nice to have, you can mention that, but you don't have to make it the star. And the third thing is your resume needs to be scannable. So we know that first step, your resume is probably going to be observed or seen by a computer or the applicant tracking system. Well, then after that, it's actually going to make it into the hands of a human being. And what that means is it needs to be scannable. So we've all heard this stat that on average, a decision maker is going to spend 6 seconds or less on a resume. Personally, I think that's probably very generous. I know from my experience as a hiring manager, literally I'm giving it a quick glance. And if I don't see the terms or the experience I'm looking for right off the bat, that might look more like 3 seconds. And the other rule that you want to remember is put the most important information first. That's why that resume headline and that professional summary is so important, because you want the reader to know right off the bat that they've got the right person and they need to keep reading. So let's keep going. All right. So we talked a little bit about the importance of clean formatting. So before we do that, I'm going to show you some quick examples here. Got Microsoft Word coming up on another screen. So a couple things about what I mean when I say white space and clean fonts. You think about a crowded piece of paper, right? It just makes you dizzy. So you want to make sure that you leave a little bit of margin, you leave a little bit of room to make sure that the person is not overwhelmed by your resume. And then the other thing is the fonts make a difference. I'm going to go ahead and pull over a resume that actually is breaking some of those rules, right? So this resume right here, we've got we've got decent margins, but the font, which is being used here, I think it's Arial, it's heavy, it's dense. And so what we want to do, just even a quick 30-second makeover, you could do a Control-All and actually just change the font on your resume to something like a Calibri. Then, right off the bat, without any other changes, we've got a little bit of a brighter, refreshed resume right off the bat. Now, again, if you're using Resume Res, you don't have to worry about that. But if you're going to continue with a resume that you've already had written, this is a great way to do that. And the other thing I want to call out is in terms of formatting, is that you can use a mix. And let me just say this, y'all. There are multiple schools of thought on this. Do I use a paragraph and bullets, one or the other? And my professional opinion is you want to use a mix, right? So because all bullets, let's just pretend we started here. This can be a little bit not necessarily overwhelming to the eye, but if I'm scanning this, my eye doesn't necessarily know where to land. So what I like to do, and I'm going to actually show you, this is the before of Jennifer's resume. I'm going to actually show you really quickly the after. Come on, words, be good to me. But what I like to do is utilize a mix. Okay, there we are. All right, let's bring this over. A mix of paragraphs and bullets. So the paragraph basically looks like kind of a summary of your duties. And then we use the bullets to really tell the eye where to land. And we focus that on the key achievements, right? Or the things that we really have done well, because that, again, is where we want the eye to land. The other kind of two key points I want to make here, and this is important, is that, again, even if you have had a, 10 plus year career and lots of amazing things, you really want to focus on the last 10 years of work experience. And there's a couple of reasons why. One, again, your resume is likely just sort of getting scanned. Two, think about over the last 10 years, the way that your industry has evolved, right? A lot of the tools, techniques, strategies that you used 10 years ago, we may not be necessarily using now. And so when it comes to a decision maker, a lot of times they're thinking about your experience as in, what have you done for me lately, right? Are you up to date on current trends, techniques, consumer habits, et cetera? So I'm certainly not suggesting that if you have experience greater than 10 years, that you ball that up and throw it away. I'm simply suggesting that you summarize that and use the bulk of the space on your resume for the last 10 years. And that, I think, is a great segue into, and I know Katie agrees, we talked about this.
Can I ask one question? Okay, so I have a couple of questions in the chat that relate to caregivers currently on a pause who are re-entering the workforce. And so how to articulate that if it's a chunk of that 10 years, or potentially that your most relevant work experience was, 8 to 10 plus years ago.
Absolutely. Well, here's the thing, Colleen, that is such a great question. Guys, you can't get blood out of a turnip, right? So if you have taken a pause or an extended pause, what I recommend is probably thinking about a resume format that is more skill based as opposed to chronological, right? And so what you're going to do is, if you in that chunk or pause have been staying up to date, or you've taken courses or gotten certifications, start there. So you might start with, instead of jumping right to, and here I'll pull a resume up so that you can see it. Okay, bear with me in the technology. So instead of maybe starting here with professional experience, maybe we revise this section to, let's see, something like key skills and certifications. And so I won't make you guys watch me type and spell things wrong.
Love that. Right. No pressure.
You know how it is, right?
Right.
If somebody's like watching you can't type or whatever. So essentially what I would do is, instead of trying to do a chronological resume, I would then create a section about key skills, and maybe even like key skills and projects. Maybe you've done some volunteer work for your kid's school or your church or something like that, but never ever feel like you are bound by what a traditional resume layout looks like. Start with what you have. And then from there, then go into the chronological piece. Love that question.
That's awesome.
Love it.
Thank you so much. I think that's super powerful. We obviously have done a lot of work around power in the pause, and we have some great content coming out next week that walks through that. And with the tool that we built with Resume Rev, it allows you to kind of create a super succinct, concise career break, so that and really the insight there being that it doesn't take up so much of the space chronologically. So even if you were out for 11 or 15 years, it's taking up a line, right? As opposed to 11 to 15 years of real estate on your, kind of precious real estate in your resume. So thank you. That was a great answer, Ashley.
Oh, awesome. Okay. So the next thing is, so once we've kind of gotten our head wrapped around formatting, right? And you saw in 10 seconds, I was able to give that resume a really quick refresh just by changing the font. When we start thinking about writing our story and talking about who we are, big rule is no resume language. And what I mean by that is, what you want to do is use clear, concise, and industry appropriate language. And you want to convey three things: who you are, what you do, and what you've accomplished for the organization. No results oriented, right? Everyone is results oriented, right? At the end of our work week or work period, the result we're expecting is probably a paycheck, right? So results oriented, one is sort of that language that doesn't necessarily tell the reader anything. What's more compelling and will make you stand out is actually describing those results. So instead of saying I'm a results-oriented marketing professional, well, actually, you know what? I'll just show you. Same thing with detail-oriented. In fact, what does that actually mean? Or proven track record. So if you have a proven track record of success, instead of saying proven track record, actually take the time to summarize your accomplishments. So let me show you kind of a before and after what I mean by that. So bear with me, I'm gonna do some toggling. All right, so I am gonna pull, this is again that before and after. So this is a resume. Names have been changed to protect the innocent, where you see in Jennifer's resume that she kind of leads with, I'm a highly skilled and results-oriented leader. Now, remember what I just mentioned a few moments ago. If your resume is only getting a couple seconds, right off the bat, I want to know that I'm dealing with the right person. And so opening your resume with this type of language doesn't tell me that right off the bat. So Jennifer also says that she's got a proven track record. So let me show you in the revised resume. You guys bear with me on the toggle. Let me show you on the revised what we can do to make that a little bit more clear. Let me get rid of some of this stuff. So the first thing is you'll notice that we added that headline, which is now framing Jennifer as the professional that she is, the senior level compliance professional and leader, right? So again, right off the bat, I know, okay, Jennifer is the right person. I need to keep reading. And then the second thing that we do is we start with, instead of results-oriented leader, we actually start talking about what she does and who she is. So she's a compliance leader with 20 years of experience, helping companies avoid costly lawsuits and actions, right? If we just start with, and sanctions, if we just start with that first sentence, we've moved completely away around results oriented. Now, if I were a hiring manager looking for someone to help me avoid costly lawsuits and sanctions, that tells me a lot more than just someone who's results oriented. Because no doubt Jennifer's work, that results oriented person or work trait that she's talking about, this is what she means. And that's a lot more clear. So
Ashley, can I ask a question from the group here?
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
So quick question. I've got one on, let's say like we're getting rid of things like detail oriented or results oriented, but those are words or phrases that appear in the job description. So does it make sense to bring them into your resume, or would you still recommend that's not the right way to translate that information?
I think that that's still not the right way. That's a great question. I still say that's not the right way to translate that information. And let me tell you a secret. Let me pull back the curtain on being a hiring manager. We're not always great at writing job descriptions. And the same pain that we all feel when we write a resume, like what language do I use, what do I say, is the same pain that sometimes hiring managers have when writing a job description. The other thing I'll tell you is the ATS, that applicant tracking system, is likely not scanning for results oriented. It's likely looking for industry specific keywords. So that is a really good question, but I would still put my money on being very clear and direct about the results that you're talking about in terms of results oriented. Super fair question.
Perfect. That was
all
a
right,
great
guys.
answer. I did not know the answer, right? We're always trying to figure out like how to do this the best
Pulling
way.
back the curtain.
Pull back the curtain with us. Thank you. And then second question on that, sorry, let me just get my spot. So, okay, the summary paragraph that I think you were showing in Jennifer's resume. Do you still need that if you also are accompanying with the cover letter? Do you recommend that there is that professional summary?
Oh my gosh, that is such a good question. Absolutely. So let me tell you guys kind of high level the difference between the two. So your resume, just think of it as sort of the snapshot, right? You don't have enough room to tell the full story. The cover letter, on the other hand, that's where you can tell more story, put more narrative around who you are, what you do, what motivates you, why you're interested in the company, why you're interested in the position. If you're transitioning from one industry to another, you can explain in your cover letter why you're doing that and, you know, what makes your skills transferable. The cover letter is really allows you to bring your career story to life. The professional summary, in my opinion, what that serves, again, is just another area to, one, sprinkle in keywords, and two, tell the reader to keep reading because, you know, the way your resume is set up, you have your name, your professional branding, like that headline, and then the third thing is your professional summary. And so all those things just sort of build this case of like, yes, Katie is the right person. Colleen is the right person. Let me dive deeper. So that is actually a good segue. Let's talk about your interesting and compelling professional summary. Now I'm going to go back, or actually you've seen Jennifer's, and I'm going to show you a second one here in just a second. But let me make this really easy for you to write on your own. All you're thinking about is who you are, so who are you, and what you do. So some of the examples that you see on my screen here, the first one is senior digital marketing professional. Now it's important to include your career level where applicable because, again, you want to be taken seriously, or you want to start to create the narrative that you are a senior professional, or you are an executive, or you are, you know, experienced. So that's important. And then you want to be thinking about what do you do? Now these, I call them I statements, right? So what you don't see here in the second column is the invisible I, meaning I create and execute campaigns that make people click, right? Super clear, super concise. Nothing about that is flowery or fluffy. It doesn't make anyone guess. It's super clear. The next one, business leader turned HR recruiter, right? So this is someone who may be pivoting. And I love to use that word turned or transitioning to indicate to the reader that I'm making a change here. But again, right? So I match top talent based on business needs and goals. Super clear. And that could even be language taken out of the job description. This next one, awarded interior designer. So, right, in this instance, well, at first you guys heard me talk about including your career level. Well, I had a client who was actually really awarded in her field. She got all these interior design awards, and I thought, hey, tell them up front. Let them know you are someone who is really recognized in your industry as being the best. And so for her, we started with someone who perfectly balances style and budget. So you guys can read the other two. I won't just read them to you. So the professional and compelling professional summary is super easy to write. And then I'm going to show you another example. So bear with me. I'm going to get Microsoft Word pulled over. So this is another example, since we already saw Jennifer's a little bit, from a client, Brittany. And hopefully this is large enough for everyone to see. Give it a little zoom. But again, opening sentence, right? We start with career level. And then we start with the idea of what do you do? So if you just sat down and made a list and said, what do I do? I build processes that don't exist and improve those that do, right? I leverage marketing and operations, my operations background to gather requirements, create processes, et cetera, et cetera. And then here we had a little fun with this. We got a little bit, even more direct. So we called Brittany a master flowchart creator, someone who easily cuts through the noise, strategic and analytical thinker who delights in making the complex, manual, and labor-intensive simple, right? So yes, again, imagine if you were a hiring manager looking for someone who was a master flowchart creator. Even if they didn't have that in the job description, if the job description read heavily toward this person's going to be creating flowcharts, wouldn't you pick up the phone and be like, Brittany, oh my gosh, you have to come in for an interview? Absolutely. So simple, simple, simple language. All right. And then the last thing, and then we'll move on to our questions portion, and I'll show you another example of this, is as you're writing or framing your story and your narrative about who you are and what you've done and trying to translate that into resume bullets, let me make it really easy for you. The first thing that you want to make sure that you have your head wrapped around is what will you be doing? And how you know what you will be doing, you can read things like the job description, right? That's straight up the answers to the test. You can read reviews about the job from sites like Glassdoor, Indeed. Those are my favorites to start with. And then you can also ask your network. So if you are someone who maybe has had a pause, or you're transitioning or pivoting into something different, and you want to learn a little bit more about, hey, what are the key skills or what's important in this particular field or industry, talk to people in your network who have done that work. They will be able to tell you, you know, this is really important. And then from there, you know, these are some of the things that I need to call out on my resume. Now, again, people always are like, I have no idea what to talk about. And so there are 3 things that you can focus on when you're writing your bullets or summarizing your work. You can focus on exactly what you did, and think about it in the vein of people, projects, and processes. If you think about it in those lanes, you will surely capture your relevant work experience. And the last thing, probably the most important thing, is the so what. So if you did a certain task, what was the benefit? Why did you do that? And you can think about this in sort of 3 categories. You either help increase or decrease something for the organization. That could look like a count or a total, right? So if you're in HR, that could look like head count, or a leadership pipeline or something like that. Or it could be budget. It could be monetary. So if you're in maybe a sales role, or maybe even depending on what role you're in marketing, it could be something like maximizing a budget. But these are typically sort of the 3 ways that you can think about when I'm talking about my accomplishments. Increase, decrease, either a count or a total of something, or possibly a budget. And it can also look like, hey, what was the size of the budget that I managed? So really quickly, because I want to make sure that we have time for questions that may come up, I'm going to share Brittany's resume one more time, and I'm going to show you what I mean. And actually, not Brittany, I want to show you Jennifer's. So I want to show you what I mean by that. So here's something that I want to call out. The flow of this resume, we see right off the bat, Jennifer talks about helping companies avoid costly lawsuits and sanctions, right? As we get into her professional experience, we actually see her talk about how she's done that, where she's eliminated 100% of outside counsel expense by resolving lawsuits in-house. She's talking about decreasing violations by 30%, and also implementing processes that have reduced customer complaints by 25%. So in her case, right, again, she's not just talking about the task that she may have completed, but she's also talking about the results as it pertains to that task. So if you do both of those things, you are going to have a resume that puts you on top again and again. Now, I know a question that's going to come up is, what if I work in a space where I don't have these hardcore numbers or hardcore metrics? No problem. So let's say maybe you are a creative, right? Maybe you're a designer of some sort. So a couple things you can talk about are things like budget. You could talk about maybe count of projects. Let's say maybe you worked in an agency space. You could talk about the audience that project may impact. But just always be thinking, even if you don't have hardcore numbers, that there is a reason that someone is hiring me to do this job or complete this project. And so the result part of it is always, why have I been hired to complete it? What are they going to take this project or this work that I've completed? What are they going to gain from it? So hopefully that makes sense. So that is all that I have prepared.
Awesome.
So let's talk questions.
Yes. All right.
Yes, I have so many questions that I know we will not get to all of them. I do want to assure everyone that we will share the deck and the recording. The recording also includes all the Q&A from YouTube. So any good nuggets that you found in there, that will also scroll along with the video. So, okay. The one I'm hearing over and over and over again in the chat is about multiple versions of resumes. And it is a big question, right? Like, okay, I'm specifying my resume to apply for this specific job, but I also could be qualified for these other types of jobs. How do I manage my multiple resume personality? And what is the best? I don't know the answer to this. I think it's a tough one.
Let me let me help some people out right now. You know how people will say like, oh, sure, I think the question too is like, well, let me first address multiple resume personalities. Yes, you absolutely need to commit to at least one or two, what I'm going to call paths, right? So what I mean by that is if you are like, I'm going to pick on marketing again. If you're a marketer and you have lots of experience, let's say in events, but also digital marketing or specifically social media, yes, you need an event-focused resume that's going to have very event-focused language and results and talk about the type of events and activations that you do. And then you're going to also need a second, you heard me right, second resume that's going to be social media focused, that has very specific social media language, social media oriented results, you know, engagement, you know, ads, whatever, because those two things are not one and the same. And again, a hiring manager or decision, when they look at a resume, right off the bat, they want to know that you're an expert for the job for which I am hiring. So when it looks like you dabble in events, you dabble in social, that's typically not necessarily what someone's looking for, right? They're really looking a little bit more for, this person knows what I'm looking for. So yes, you do need to have, you do need to choose a path and have a resume for both. Now, if the question is around, should I like change or modify my resume for each job? If you pick a path or two, you don't have so much work to do because you're going to be applying for, again, I'll pick on that events example. If you're applying for events jobs, your events resume that you've been very thoughtful and had a lot of events experience and results in, is going to do the heavy lifting for you. But then if you're like, today I'm feeling like social media, then what's going to happen is your social media resume is going to do the heavy lifting for you. So yes, you need both.
Okay, great. Quick one. Picture or no picture on your resume?
No picture.
No pictures, people. No pictures. We agree with Ashley on that one. You do not need your picture. Okay, next one, and it's a little bit related to that last question, so I'll jump back a little bit. So we've picked our paths. Let's say we have two. We've got events and social media. Now what do I do with my LinkedIn profile to make sure that it adequately reflects the opportunities that I wish to come to me?
Yeah, absolutely. So LinkedIn is great because hyphenate. Ashley Cash, marketing events, and social media. And then in your summary section, do a paragraph for each. Hey, I'm Ashley. I'm a 15-year marketer. I love events and social media. Paragraph 2 talks about events. Paragraph 3 talks about social media.
Yep, I like that. I like that a lot. And I think and through my own personal experience, and I've also hired many, many people in my career, I do look at LinkedIn profiles, right? Like that is a thing people are using to ascertain if this is a candidate that you want to speak to. And that ultimately, like, you can only be that one person and you are who you are. So even if you've got significant skills in events and social media, you just become that person, right? You don't have to pick on LinkedIn. You can be, but not more than 2 probably. Probably.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, let me go back here. We've got so many. So how do I maximize my 10 plus years of experience when I'm currently in a pause? How do I know we kind of covered that a little bit. So we get a lot of questions about, the caretaking pauses, which I think we might just need to do a whole other session on that. So let us take that as a follow-up as well. But if you have a quick 15 seconds on like, how do we ensure that the pauses basically aren't causing a bias? I think that's what the question under the question is.
Absolutely. I think your cover letter is a great place, again, to add some story. And I don't mean a story about the pause. I just mean talking about your skill, bringing color to what you've done, what lights you up, maybe some key projects or accomplishments that you had while you were working. I think the big thing here, and I know you guys echo this all the time at the Mom Project, you have to focus and highlight what you have, not what you don't. Don't shine so much light on the pause. Talk about what you do have. And the second little small caveat is, for someone who has a pause, I think the most effective tool for you is going to be your network, leveraging people and relationships and not worrying so much about just throwing your resume into an applicant portal. You need people to tell your story. And you can't always do that with an online portal.
Yes. Awesome. Okay, great. And I think we are going to dive into those specific questions in another session because there's just a lot packed in there, right? And so I think, let's see, I had one more that I wanted to make sure that we covered here. I think it was around, contact information. So another super easy one, making sure that people, how much is too much versus like, what do you need to have in there?
Name, phone number, city, state.
City, state, email address or no? Email address?
Oh, yes.
Email.
Gosh,
Okay.
email address.
I went to a resume the other day that someone had sent me and I had no contact information. And I was like, I don't know how to find you because someone else had sent it to me. It was like through a connection.
Yeah.
And I was like, I don't know this person. City and state is a good one though.
And then optional LinkedIn. My resume has my LinkedIn on it, optional, but if you can squeeze it on there, get it in there.
Awesome. That's great. Tons of questions about resume formatting, kind of figuring out how to kind of get through the dreaded ATS systems. So I guess my last imparting question before we do the rallying cry for you are more than your resume, which you all are. Is there tricks to the trade on kind of beating that ATS game? I know it's like there's a million of them and they all work somewhat differently. And in the speed of technology to make this better, we've actually made it a lot worse, right? Through ATS, because it's created a really difficult thing. So I guess I'd love just your, kind of parting advice on, we get all of these high value pieces of information from you and that all makes a lot of sense, but is that going to work with the ATS that you have to get through to get to a human?
Absolutely. What I would say is probably the thing that works the most or the best for my clients is use their language. So if something is being described on the job description, again, that marketing term, right? If they're using terms like digital marketing and campaign, maybe you use that term as well, as opposed to, let's say, a social media campaign. It's really more about, again, using, I think, not just the keywords every chance you get, but also having context around those things. So as you write your accomplishments, as you write your professional summary, including that type of language is probably, I won't say you beat ATS, but the higher, you match in terms of words, phrases, in the appropriate context, the better off you're going to be.
Absolutely. Okay, great. And then we've got a lot of questions on PDF versus Word versus formats. I mean, we obviously, our team works in PDF and we did that intentionally because it is the universal format and it won't get all screwed up and it goes the way you want it to.
That's it.
But if
that's it.
Okay. Well, I'm glad to know that you're right. I know that there's conflicting information out there. It's not everyone has Word. So if you open it up and it looks all weird, like that's kind of a con. I know that obviously a PDF is not editable. So interesting in that. Okay. Any parting words for our community here today? Everyone's fifth week work from home with kids, looking for jobs, like the mess out there. We're hoping to bring some kind of calm and consistency into the chaos. And so would love just your parting words.
I just want to, send love and light to everyone. The big thing is this, and you already said it, Colleen, you are not your resume. You are not your career pause. You are someone who is gifted, talented, and worthy of a career that you love. And so I just want you, as you are thinking about the next step, to give yourself enough grace and kindness to get there. It will happen for you. And here's the thing too about resumes. From a hiring manager's point of view, formatting this or that, it's only skin deep. If you have the right qualifications and you have clearly and concisely conveyed your talent and what you can do for me, right? Because that's what I care about as a hiring manager. What can you do for me? I will pick up the phone and call you. So don't get too bogged down in those details. Really just be thoughtful, even if you're doing resume rev, about let me make sure that what I want to be known for is what leads on my resume. The formatting and all that jazz, not that big of a deal. But I just want you guys all to give yourself enough grace to get through, one, this global crisis, and two, what can feel like the gauntlet as you approach new work. So just sending you all my heart, and thank you so much for allowing me to serve and share with you today.
Thank you. Oh my gosh, this was so wonderful. I wish you could, we will send you the recording with all the chat. People are just so grateful for your advice and sort of your calm but buoyant energy in this, you know, kind of crazy time that we're living through. And so we appreciate it so much. And thank you to everyone that joined us today. Like I said, Katie and I will send out the recap. We'll make sure to share as much as we can from Ashley. We'll kick off that resume challenge next week. So sign up for that. We'll send the link for that. Would love to just give you 5 days of kind of bite-sized ways to break it down. And much of it relates right back to Ashley's advice. And we would love to do whatever we can to support you in your job search. And so look forward to next Friday's session. I've already got a list of all the future sessions we need for resume. And thank you again, Ashley, so much. This was just really super powerful and helpful.
Phenomenal.
My pleasure. Thank you guys for giving me a reason to put on lipstick. It's been over a month.
You look lovely. Awesome. Thanks, guys. Have a great weekend.